So listen, chat, I made this list, and this is not a definitive list. Also, it is my list. Meaning, it's not anyone else's. This is just how I feel about the games I like. You may disagree, and that's understandable. I respect your opinion. I respect your top 10 list. This is mine at the moment. Now, this changes a little bit from time to time, depending on how I'm feeling, depending on how nostalgic I'm feeling, how long it's been since I've played the game. So, what I can tell you is that the top 3 don't really change around a whole lot. I love Chrono Trigger and Super Metroid and Link to the Past so much because they represent a lot from when I was younger that I still think they hold up and they're great. But those are games that mean a lot to me on like kind of an emotional level because of how young I was when I played them and what they meant to me, how many times I played them. So those top 3 are very solid. Half-Life and Metal Gear Solid sometimes switch positions, but for me, Half-Life I think is much more influential because I played all of its mods for years, and I replay the game every so often, and it really holds up, and I love it, and I think about it a lot because it's just a great game. Metal Gear Solid is my favorite Metal Gear, and it, I think, is the one that I think about the most from a story perspective because it has... I mean, I just did the Liquid Snake voice for Paper Mario, and, brother! It's just too important to me, and it's probably the best PlayStation game that I had at the time, and I still think it is. It aged pretty well, too. Like, I wish it had some of the advancements. Twin Snakes adds that, but it also takes away from the game a little bit. It's fine the way it is. From the soundtrack to the story to the voice acting, it's great. And the gameplay is really good, too. So those are my top 5. Mario 3, the reason I have that there is just because it's my favorite Mario game. I love the power-ups, I love the level design, I love the way the world maps are set up, and each of the world's themes, Pipe World, Giant World. I can't see myself having Mario World above that, but sometimes I do think Mario World is better than 3. But 3, for me, is more important. Symphony of the Night is more... It's not even... Like, it's got great gameplay, but the reason Symphony of the Night's so high is just because, again, the visuals, the music, the whole package. I love Alucard as a protagonist as well. It is an easy game if you want it to be, but I still love it. Resident Evil 4 is my favorite. Resident Evil game because it's also the first Resident Evil game I really played to completion, and I still think it aged very well. The shooting is good. It's so fun. That village section, you can't really go wrong with it. I can start the game, get to the village section, and be like, oh, I'm good. I'll play this for the rest of the game. Because it's just so fucking, like, juicy. Like, the hits, the gunplay. I love all the secrets. I love the fucking castle is probably one of my favorite sections in any game. And I love the Indiana Jones-esque secrets from time to time. I love how over the top it is, yet still kind of grounded. And Leon is just fantastic in it. Final Fantasy IX at number 9. I put that there not only because 9 at 9 makes sense, because it is nice to have that there, but genuinely I do think Final Fantasy IX, the final act suffers a little bit, but God, that game left such an impression on me. It deserves to be number 9. I love it. Top 10 for sure. And Warcraft 3 is a game I've played the story of all the way through one time, both the Frozen Throne and that. And I still think it was one of the best RTS campaigns. The multiplayer, though, holy fuck. I love the units, I love the world, I love the way it looks, I love all the mods that came from it. I played Warcraft 3 almost more than any other game just because of custom games. So, that's my top 10, and I don't think it's going to change too much. Sometimes Super Mario World sneaks in there, sometimes Eternal Darkness sneaks in there. Mario World is in number 11. I love Mario World, but I just like 3 a little bit more. Eternal Darkness is not a perfect game. The combat and the gameplay is a little jank, but I just love what it represents. Like I love the fucking cosmic horror. I love the sanity effects. That's a game that blew me away when I first played it, and I think it holds up pretty well. And each of the time period, I love the history. Each of the time periods you go through in the game, there's just like this palpable atmosphere. And again, I played it at a very specific time in my life. I'll always remember it. Majora and Ocarina, I can't really choose between the two, so I put them next to each other. I like some things in Ocarina better than Majora, but Majora's got a better. I love the impending doom nature of Majora. I love how weird it is. I love the individual stories of Majora. It's just it's a tough choice between the two, but they both, for me, are pretty difficult to take away from each other. Sunshine is great. My favorite 3D Mario game. I still love going back to it. It's, again, not perfect. Corona Mountain comes to mind, but I think it's just the most fun one to play. I love the movement in it. I love Flood and some of the challenges. And the crazy thing about Sunshine is, again, that's also a nostalgic choice because it's not really a fully complete game. Like, there's some repetition in there, but, man, Spelunky, I just spent years playing. I think it's just fantastic. It's everything that you do wrong in that game is your own fault. I love it. Can't wait for number 2. Final Fantasy VII, I put it 17, not for any specific reason. It's not, for me, as good as Final Fantasy IX or Chrono Trigger, and it's, in fact, maybe not even that great overall. The translation's a little fucked up. There are times where I play Final Fantasy VII, I'm just like, yeah, some of this isn't so great anymore, but I think mostly you can still play it and enjoy it. I think it holds up great. Obviously, the soundtrack is one of my favorites. The nostalgia, what that game like represented for me in my life, is why it's so high on my list, and it will always be an important game for me. Metroid Prime is just a great fucking game. I mean, it's Metroid in 3D. How'd they do it? I don't know. Final Fantasy VI is another great RPG. I would say 6 is better than 7. For me, 7's only higher on the list because of the nostalgia. And then Half-Life 2, maybe not as good as Half-Life 1 because I love the setting of Half-Life 1. Black Mesa is you've heard me say this a million times. Black Mesa is amazing. I love the whole science experiment gone wrong, Area 51, the aliens first invading. It's just great. But Half-Life 2 has the City 17 setting, which I think is also really cool. And it's even more beautiful and has some great action set pieces. And it really did deliver. It delivered. So get ready for the next part of the list. Number 21, Kid Icarus Uprising. I had to think about this a bit. Yes, I think Kid Icarus Uprising is number 21. It really is one of my favorite games. I fucking love it. And the reason it's so high on the list is because I streamed it last year. And even though the controls turn you into a crab, it really is just the complete package. There's so much in it. It's got amazing visuals for the 3DS, amazing music. The characters are so fleshed out. Multiplayer is incredible. It deserves, for me, Kid Icarus Uprising is one of the most underrated yet well-known Nintendo games, and I think it absolutely deserves number 21. Star Fox 64, what is more that I can say about that? It's Star Fox, it's great. Super Mario 64, a game that I played countless times, still have nostalgia for, love it, still great. The reason I put Smash Brothers in parentheses Ultimate is fine. I mentioned this during Perfect Dark, but I think Melee had a bigger impact on me. 64 also had a big impact on me because I played the fuck out of both of those so much. And I couldn't really choose which Smash I liked the best because they all do something a little bit different, and I got them at different times, played a lot of one, played a lot of another. The reason I'm putting Ultimate on here is just because it's got everything. So for me, I'm not so crazy about like the specifics of the gameplay, the engine of Melee, So Ultimate is fine. It's great. I'm not a competitive player, and I'm happy to have Ultimate on the list. Any Smash Brothers would be in my top 25. Diablo 2 being number 25, just because, again, atmosphere, the music, the fucking story is great, but I played so many hours of it. Forever, I would play Diablo 2. Just start a new character over and over and over again. Still holds up. Still holds up. Castlevania 4, again, the complete package. Is it better than 3? I don't know. Maybe not. I like it, though. I think it's just, for me, a game that I got at the right time in my life and played it. And I can still listen to that soundtrack. Maybe it's not even better than Castlevania 1. But it's up there for me. Wind Waker is best post-Ocarina Zelda, aside from Majora. For me, I love Twilight Princess for what it does, but Wind Waker, just the sailing, the art style, the whole thing, the whole package of Wind Waker. Again, a game that wasn't fully complete, just like Sunshine, and yet they still managed to leave a big impression on me, and I still love playing them. The HD version of Wind Waker was great, and I'd probably play it again if it came to the Switch. I would play it again if it came to the Switch. Snake Eater, I only played for the first time a couple years ago, and I gotta say, it's made my list. Snake Eater is so fucking good. That's a game that you can play a million different ways, but it's also really grounded after MGS2, which I also love, by the way, but there's something about the James Bond Soviet era style of Snake Eater that really just, you can't beat it. And Big Boss is great. It really is right up there with Metal Gear Solid 1 in quality. Okay, next part. The Binding of Isaac. The reason I put that up there is because I just played it forever. Forever and ever. That one could be Rebirth, but you could also add the expansions. You could add the original. Just the whole Binding of Isaac thing definitely is a game I've spent hundreds of hours playing and getting hopelessly addicted to, and it influenced a lot of games that I enjoy today. Great music and presentation. Counter-Strike could be CSGO 1.6. Source. I just love Counter-Strike. It's another game. I know it's started as a mod of Half-Life, but it kind of became its own monster, and it's one of my favorite shooters of all time, just to get lost in and play and get really addicted to. I could boot up CSGO right now, play 2 hours of it, and then spend the rest of the week playing CSGO. So, I love it. Galaxy 1 and 2 are so similar, I just put them together. I really don't know how to choose between the two. I think 1 is a little bit better because of the originality of it. 2 had some really great ideas. I love what they did to expand the concept. It's... I wish they kind of kept the overworld and the story of 1, but I also like the simplicity of just choosing a level with 2. I just think they're great, and some of the most inventive shit Nintendo's ever done. I can't separate them. I guess I could put them back to back like Ocarina and Majora, but they're so similar that I just threw them together. I hope that's okay. Then you have Mega Man X. My Mega Man representation on my top 50 is only X, but I'd probably put Mega Man 2 in my top 100. I just couldn't believe how good the gameplay was. Like, climbing up walls in Mega Man when I first rented the game was a revelation. I don't know why I'm being so hyperbolic about that, but no, it really was great. And just the powers, the music. Again, complete package. Not a long game, but a very replayable game, and set the tone for X2, and I think 3 is not as good, but I like it as well. StarCraft, again, story-wise, I love it. Gameplay-wise, I love it. I just spent a lot of time playing it. It's StarCraft. It's great, and it had to be on my list. Banjo-Kazooie is probably one of the best collectathons, best 3D platformer, aside from maybe Mario 64 for me, and Rare just got so much right with that game, and I love it. I'm happy to go back to it. Again, music. You'll notice a lot of my favorite choices, I mentioned the music, because it's just so important to me. But I think Banjo-Kazooie really struck the right balance between DK64 and Banjo-Tooie. Kazooie, for me, was just right. It was just the right amount of collectibles. The world sizes were like perfect. The fairy tale storybook element of the game is just, it's great. So, what's that? Chrono Cross at 35. Oh no, why do I have Chrono Cross up here? This game has problems. Some of the games that I love do have problems, but Chrono Cross is a game that I've played through all the way through several times, and I will complain about some of the Dragon Fetch Quest stuff and some of the fucking bizarreness of the story. I've said it on my streams plenty. Chrono Cross does not necessarily work as a sequel to Chrono Trigger, but it works pretty good as a standalone, and it looked beautiful for PS1. Maybe the best soundtrack on this list, and that's huge for me. And I think the combat system is underrated. I only wish they focused a little bit more on a couple characters as opposed to 10 million. There's like, 80-something characters or whatever, and they're mostly interchangeable. They're cool. You can have a radish on your team, or a little alien fella, or a skeleton clown, but I kind of wish they just narrowed it down to like 10 to 15 characters and really focused on them. But the world is cool. Some of the lore I think works really well, but some of it is garbage. But whatever. I still love it. GTA, I don't know how to choose between 3, 4, and 5, so I just put them together again. This list is flawed. It's not a great list. I did the best I could. 3 had more of an impact because it changed gaming in so many ways, and it blew my mind, and I played it forever. 4, I love the fake New York setting, and I played so much online multiplayer with 4 with my friends at the time. Just Team Mafia work so much, and I really thought it was a huge leap. And 5, because the world was just so fleshed out, and it was really refined, and I think 5 is just gameplay-wise great, and the online multiplayer, like, I'm not really crazy about the open world aspect of it. I never really invested too much time into it, but I spent and lost a lot of time in that game, and it's an achievement. It's just a huge accomplishment of a game. I love it. So I can't choose, so I put them together. Quake it's Quake. It's my favorite first-person shooter from id. I love Doom and Doom 64, make no mistake, but Quake with the Nine Inch Nails soundtrack, the nail gun, the gothic, weird castles, just the way it weaves in and out of different themes. It's not a perfect single player because some of it gets a little repetitive, but I really wish they'd do another game like that. And the multiplayer was also huge in terms of what it did for multiplayer shooters, and later on, I played Quake 64, and then I played the Quake multiplayer. I played a lot of Deathmatch Classic, and I just loved it. Donkey Kong Country. I like Donkey Kong Country better than DKC 2. I would have 2 on my list in my top 50 easily, because DKC 2 is probably a slightly better game. It's harder, but Donkey Kong Country 1, for when it came out, blew me away. I still love the world in DKC 1. I think it's just one of the best platformers ever. Tropical Freeze would be in my top 100, but essentially, Donkey Kong Country still, again, music is very important here, is still a game that I have no problem coming back to. I know it's on the Switch, virtual console thing, whatever they have, the subscription thing, and I might want to check that out again at some point, just for fun. So I love Donkey Kong Country. Advance Wars. Can't choose between 1, 2, or Dual Strike. I think Dual Strike is the best of the Advance Wars series, but I'm putting Advance Wars here to represent the whole series. I even like Days of Ruin. Advance Wars is an underrated series from Nintendo that I would absolutely love to see come back. If you don't know what it is, it's turn-based strategy, I think, at its best, and Dual Strike really, for me, with the map editor, with some of the online features, the campaign, you can't... It's like you get into a groove of war, which wasn't as good, War Groove, but it was a valiant attempt. But man, I'd love to see Advance Wars come back. Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2 Rogue Leader, I think, is my favorite Star Wars game because it follows the movies really closely. It was the GameCube launch title, and it really had these amazing visuals that still hold up. Very movie accurate. Some voice clips from the movie. They got Wedge from Dennis Lawson from Star Wars to come back. Really tight controls, brilliant soundtrack, obviously John Williams, and the missions were just really well done. They were really, it made sense. Like you're attacking the Death Star, go attack the Death Star. So I love this series. I think that was the best of those games. And it felt like you were really in Star Wars, so I love it. Mario Kart 64 and most others. This is where it gets tough, chat. Like, some of these entries I don't know how to list. So I'm going to say Mario Kart 64 is the one I'm putting here, but truthfully, Double Dash could easily be here. The original, I probably have more time in than almost any other Mario Kart. Mario Kart 8 is probably the best Mario Kart ever made. I won't deny that, but there's a nostalgia for 64 that I can remember the stank of the pizza. I can remember how salty me and my friends and my cousin would get. I remember friends coming over when we had homework and me going over friends' houses just because this game was so addictive. So 64 is the one that I'm putting on this list because of nostalgia, which in a perfect world I could make a list with no nostalgia, but then that would just be a generic best games of all time list. So this is my favorites. Mario Kart 64 definitely belongs there. Breath of the Wild, I struggled with where to put this because it's still pretty new. And the reason I put it at here is because I don't think it's better than some of the other Zelda games, and I don't think it's quite my favorite game of all time. But if you watched my stream of that, which wasn't that long ago, you know I got obsessed with that game, addicted. It did a lot of things for the open world genre that really, for me, I can't really go back easily. It did a lot of things wrong for Zelda. There were more elements from the Zelda series I would like to see incorporated. A little bit more focus would be nice. Get rid of the rain mechanic. Fix the breaking weapons a little bit. Just so that you can fix your broken weapons, or maybe there's a double durability length. Whatever. But everything it does right, the feeling you get when you're crossing Hyrule Field, the exploration, the discovery, climbing, the fucking glider was brilliant. Everything about that game that works so well that it's hard to go back. But there's limited enemy variety. The bosses are kind of samey. The dungeons aren't great. So that's why my hopes are so high for the second one. And it's on my list because it had a huge impact. I think it's great. I love it. Soul Calibur 2. I'm not a huge fighting game person. Sure, I've played my Mortal Kombats. Mortal Kombat 3 was a big one for me. 2 I loved. I played my Tekkens and all that stuff. But Soul Calibur 2 is the fighting game I really got obsessed with. And Link was in it, so that helped. But you could easily throw 4 on this list. Soul Calibur 5 and 6, all that stuff is good. 3 was good for its own stuff. There is a Soul Calibur 6, right? That's the most recent one. 4 maybe wasn't that amazing. I just had to check because now my brain did not. I was like, is 5 the one with Darth Vader? No. I think that was 4. Anyway, I think Soul Calibur as a series has a lot of addictive gameplay. 2's the one that made the biggest impression on me. That's the one I got most addicted to. I also like that you can choose different weapons that have different effects. I wouldn't mind seeing that return. 3 did a couple of interesting things, but ultimately I think 2 is the one that was my first and my favorite fighting game for its time. Almost done here. Almost done. What's number 44? Oh shit, Bloodborne. Okay, why is this on my list? Some of you will be happy about this. It completely won me over. It completely won me over because I hadn't played any of the FromSoft games from start to finish. I played a little bit of Dark Souls 1. I didn't really like it because it got too annoyingly difficult, frustrating, whatever it is. I couldn't do it. The community was giving me a lot of shit for it. So I just tried, and then I tried again, and then I tried another time when it came to the Switch, and I just couldn't get into Dark Souls. So I wasn't sure I would like Bloodborne. And I'm like, chat, I might stream it once. And then I played it on my own for a while. I was like, ho. I said, ho. Like, hark. Like, ho. This game is really good. I'm going to keep playing it. And then I couldn't stop playing it. And then I had to stream it. And then I had to keep streaming it. And then I did the DLC. And there were some moments that I finished bosses and people were like, Vin, you did really well on that boss, and that kept me going. Some bosses took a full stream to complete, but I loved the accomplishment. I loved the atmosphere of the game so much. The whole, again, cosmic horror thing. The gameplay was tight. It's a truly great game that should come to PC, please. Thank you. So that's a recent one that's on my list. Mario RPG is my favorite of the Mario RPGs, including Paper Mario and the Mario Luigi stuff. It's just a great game, great RPG, utilizes the Mario franchise in a really interesting way, especially for its time. I didn't expect it. It poked fun at some of the tropes for the first time, and I loved it. Square did a great job with it, and great music, and it's definitely up there. I mean, this might even be higher. Our RPG could possibly be even higher. Perfect Dark, as you know, I'm streaming, and I don't really always have the most amazing things to say about it, but that's also my own fault. The difficulty I'm playing on, I should have not done, because it's for people who played the game already and know it really well. That said, I love the aliens, the music, the combat is still amazing. I still remember playing all the multiplayer. Honestly, GoldenEye would be right up here with it. GoldenEye would probably be like number 51, because they both served their purpose. And again, I can tell you that a lot of homework was missed playing both of those games. Perfect Dark in particular, because I just can't get over the conspiracy alien shit. I love that shit. You know, I eat that shit right up. And it's still great. The weapons all have secondary functions. Joanna Dark as a hero is pretty cool. The whole thing felt like a good extension of GoldenEye. And even though I have my complaints and I blind a lot when I play it, I can't not have it on my top 50. It's too good. Resident Evil 2 Remake. Yep, another recent one. Probably the most recent game on the list. Why this one? Well, I never played through the original fully. And I never played through the third one fully. I love Resident Evil 1, and that could possibly be on my list. But I liked the third person so much from Resident Evil 4 that this delivered more of that in an intelligent way. It really felt like a good extension of Resident Evil 4 using Resident Evil 2's template. Obviously, it made Game of the Year lists and all that stuff, but I loved it. And I thought it was great. It's a shame Resident Evil 3 didn't quite hit the same mark, but 2 is a game that I'm glad I got a chance to play a couple times, and I'm glad I streamed it. It's phenomenal. Yoshi's Island is one of the best platformers ever made. It's got Yoshi, and it was a left turn. I didn't think Mario World 2 would star Yoshi, but it does, and it was great. And it's still the best Yoshi game for me, and I think the visuals of that game still hold up. That was one of the first, like highly stylized games that I was aware of, like aside, well, Mario World and 3 had like the theater theme, and World had, you know, some of its own charm, but the way they went with the visual style of that game, I'll never forget when I first saw it, how cool I thought it was. So, and it just delivers. The whole game is good. All the platforming is good. Fucking great game. And then Mother 3, so I'd put Mother 3 above Earthbound because Mother 3 was more of a gut punch. That's a game, as you know, I played recently for the very first time on stream, and you could tell that I was affected by some of it. I love the rhythm-based combat, and just the whole setup of the story, the way the story weaves in and out of different, like, I don't know how to describe it really, but it's good. It's very good. And it left some pretty heavy, like, thoughts in my head afterwards. So yeah, Mother 3 is great, and I'm glad that it exists, and I'm glad I got a chance to play it. Earthbound would be in my top 100, probably in the 50s or 60s. If Earthbound, see, I didn't play that game when I was a kid. If it just had some quality of life stuff for menuing, Earthbound would probably be a guaranteed top 50, but I can't help but think about struggling a little bit with that game, though I still love it very much. And then I guess 50 is Kirby Superstar. So there's my my list. Why not Ultra? I don't know. I don't know. Kirby Superstar is the game that I guess I played the most of when it comes to Kirby. Maybe 64 would be up there a little bit. In my top 100, maybe Kirby, God, just the first one on the NES. The Game Boy one's the one I played the most when I was a kid, but there's so many good Kirby games. Robobot's really good. I'm just putting Superstar on here in top 50. I've never, like, Kirby's never are my favorite games ever, but they're really fun and they're really chill. And I think Superstar has a good mix of all that. And there's some difficulty in Superstar. So you could throw Ultra on there too if you want, but Kirby Superstar was one of the best rentals ever. Let's just put it that way. You get so much with it. So there you go. Outer Wilds, it's still too new. Outer Wilds would probably at the moment be in my top 100. In a year, it might be in my top 50. I fucking loved Outer Wilds. So I would consider that. Now, if you see here, it says, so people are mentioning some stuff, right? This is why this list is a work in progress. People mentioned Half-Life Alyx, RimWorld, Dragon Quest XI. They're mentioning Silent Hill 2. These are all very valid points. Someone said this is a weird list, bro. You played games maybe that I didn't play, or maybe I played some games that you didn't play. That's cool, but there's a lot of stuff that exists in this world. I would put Zelda 1 and 2 on my list. Yes, both of them, because they're still great, and obviously you know I love Zelda 2. I play it every year, even though it is a very deeply flawed game. So there's a couple games that you can see here would be in my top 100, and I could very easily see that list existing. But yeah, Silent Hill 2 might even be top 50. I might rearrange a little bit, especially if Outer Wilds ends up sticking with me as much as I think it will. It's great, and it probably deserves to be in my list. Now, again, let me just issue a disclaimer. I understand there's a lot of games like Minecraft that had like really big cultural impact that people still play. I love Minecraft. It's good. Tetris, I love Tetris. But for now, this is what immediately I can think of as my list. I know a lot of people ask me, what are your top games? So here it is for now. And I'm going to keep revising. And when I get a top 100, I'll post the link so you can see it. But chances are there's going to be some differences. So there you go. Top 50 worst. That's just most Sunday stream stuff. Thank you for listening, at least. I'm happy to share a little bit. I appreciate that people want to check out my taste in games. Good or bad, it doesn't really matter. It's just how I feel about games. They're really, you know, stuff that maybe had a big impact on me from when I was a kid. But I'll let you know when I get that top 100. Okay, so this is been a lot of talking. I didn't expect to talk over the whole thing for every game. I wasn't sure I was going to do that, but I couldn't help myself. So, hey, we're going to take a quick break. And then, oh, wait, what's this? Vinny, why so much Nintendo? Well, I grew up with Nintendo. Vinny, people are whining that there's too many Nintendo games. Yes. Okay, so, why so many Nintendo games? Because I grew up with Nintendo. And that's what I had as a kid. So when I was like formulating my taste in games, you know, I didn't have money for Sega, so I had Nintendo. There is one game here, chat, that I forgot to add. And hang on one second, quick revision. See, already I can tell there's something wrong here, and I know what happened. Okay, so do you know what happened? Somewhere around here would be Skies of Arcadia. Completely forgot about it. can't leave it off. So, okay. Yes, I grew up with Nintendo. I didn't have Sega growing up. I played Sonic 3. I think it's great. And I know there's a lot of Sega games like Altered Beast that I really enjoyed when I did play them. So, again, here's another one. Gunstar Heroes. That would be maybe even top 100. So there's a number of things that I played growing up. I can't help but love Nintendo because that's what was bought for me. That's what I had growing up, and that's what brought me a lot of happiness. And truthfully, Nintendo makes some fucking bomb games. You know, you can't... If I'm putting, like, Link to the Past on this list, Mario World, I mean, I'm not complaining about that. So... Vinny, why no Kirby? Did you just get here, or? Anyway, we'll take a quick break. I'll be back with Flight Simulator. Here's a song. It'll go well with Flight Simulator. Stick around. Oh fuck, where's Portal 2? I forgot to add Portal 2 to the list. For fuck's sake, I had it on there. Where did it go? New list soon. New list really soon. Link's Awakening. Oh my god. Connect 4. Holy shit, Skyrim? Nah. Be right back.
Yeah, I'm gonna fly so high.
So that's LAX by Das Cope, not Tame Impala. Jeff recommended that, and that was just earlier today. I was like, hey, this is a song about flying. This works for the flight simulator stream. Yeah, I mean, he even framed it as like, yeah, the vocals aren't amazing, but cool music, cool song. It's definitely in that chill zone between like Lonerism and Inner Speaker. And so, yeah, I like it. It's all right. I'll check out the album. The chill zone. But anyway, welcome back to the stream. Vinny 30XX has a new demo out with one new stage, Clock Zone. Cool. Someone said before that IGN, wait for it, IGN, I'll let you hang on that one for a minute. Think about, let the bile rise from your gut into your throat a little bit. Okay. IGN gave Crystal Chronicles a 3 out of 10. Dated design, clunky multiplayer, long load times make this remaster a chore. The wait is preposterous. Going into Crystal Chronicles Remastered Edition, I expected a fair amount of old school design. Wasn't surprised to find that the story hadn't been altered, but I never anticipated it would be in such frustratingly poor technical state on PS4. Unacceptable loading times, lack of local co-op, an arcane matchmaking system makes playing Crystal Chronicles a terrific chore. A few simple quality of life improvements, even if it was just the removal or shortening of load times, would have gone a long way to gloss over at least some of Crystal Chronicles' shortcomings compared to the many other dungeon crawlers you could play in 2020. Unfortunately, the old school frustrations that weren't addressed only served to date everything else about it, especially the repetitive combat, almost completely depriving it of any sort of fun. I will be uninstalling this as soon as possible, and I'm never looking back. Oof. So I'm not taking that as word of God. You know, I'm going to definitely watch some people play it, talk to some friends about it, read some other reviews. I am aware of some of its shortcomings even before I read that. But OpenCritic has it at a 60. Well, that's 3 out of 10. That's harsh as fuck. That's not a 6 out of 10. That's a 3 out of 10. Well, good for you, IGN. Well, I'm going to have to see what this game's all about. If it really is that frustratingly annoying and the load times suck, that's going to be unfortunate. So, we'll see. We'll see, chat. I might check it out. Hopefully it won't be another Snack World situation. I remember they delayed the game, too. I'm loading up Flight Simulator, by the way. I remember they delayed the game a bunch, and I thought that would help its development, but it seems like it might be in a pretty rough state. Unfortunate. Oh well. Give me a second here. Vinny, your mic is dead? Check. 1, 2. What happened? Okay. I just had to connect my joystick. This thing is loading. Flight stick, not joystick. Also, Pikmin 2 would be on my list. My top 100. If you're wondering where the Pikmins were.